good day, good old days, as people call it, I guess. I have Brian Birch, Bobby Phillips, Mitch Sturdy, and Bruce McCrae, who all of them have been lucky enough to work with Lasma, Jean LaCroix, and so we also have Jean on speaker over here. And I think the reason we all came together today was because Jean has wrote a book that's basically his life story, which is a super interesting book, and I felt like I knew so much about his family, but I even learned more after reading it. So I think we'll start with just going around and you guys introducing yourself and your affiliation with Lasma, Jean, and where you're at today.
First of all, his book is just going to be amazing. We all cannot wait to be able to read it. I spent 6 years at Lasma, 1980, 1986, and worked both in the training barn and the sale barn. And, I was very fortunate to work very closely with Reagan and Jean, and it was just a magical time. We were all so fortunate to have that opportunity, and I guess I was thinking about this morning. One of the biggest things I could remember back then was all of us being together, but the camaraderie that there was amongst all of us, and Jean created that. We all wanted to get better. We were willing to work whatever amount of hours we had to work, and it was just a special time for all of us as a result of what Jean and Raymond were doing. So presently I am have been at Strawberry Banks Farms for 25 years, and have had a wonderful time there. It's been a great ride, and soon we'll be moving to Florida to work with County Ravens.
Hello, Bob Phillips. I worked for Lasma, started in 1972. Worked for several years, went off my own for a while, and then went back again. At this time, I think we all should thank Gene, right? Because he was the master of what we all do today. He taught us all how to train, and he gave us all the life, and we're still living it today. So thanks, Gene. We appreciate it. And we love you for it today, Gene. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, amen.
Okay, Mitch.
Hi, I'm Mitch Sturdy. I was fortunate enough to work with Jean and Ray in the early 80s, and then later on, frequented having Jean and Ray when we were doing the consulting and coaching. I presently now overseeing the breeding program and all things associated with the Cal Poly Calibrating Horse program. And I guess when I think back on all the significant contributions that Gene and his family and Lasma brought to all of us in this whole community, this Arabian horse community and horse community in general, I think of it as, in a trainer's sense, as the training tree. And I think like in the NFL, we have like head coaches that have been Hall of Fame coaches, and then they now have like a tree of coaches. For example, I'll be selfish, like I'm a Denver Bronco fan, and Mike Shanahan now has 8 coaches in the NFL, and that are successful. And the trainers that Gene and Ray mentored that are so successful to this day, and continuing on, we all have had an opportunity to mentor as well. So there's, 3 and 4 generations of Lasma Arabian horse trainers out there that are successful, and it's all to Gene's creativity and genius, as well as Dr. LaCroix and Raymond as well.
Hey, I'm Bruce McCrae. I first went to Lasma in February of 1974. Helped with sale 2 and hopefully to stay on and have a job there. Bobby Coach was there when I got there. Did a lot together. Had a good time with that. Stayed for a few years then like Bobby, I went out on my own and had pretty good success doing that. Eventually, when Lasma did the tree development in Kentucky, I moved to Kentucky and worked with the breeding operation there for a long time, and then went back to work with the halter trainer. And that went on for a couple of years, and then I was the operations manager of Lasma for the last couple of years that it was in existence. And so I have a long, wonderful relationship with Lasma and the LaCroix family, and owe them a huge debt of gratitude for all they've done for all of us and for me and my career. I ended up spending the last 25 years of my career in Saudi Arabia working with the government operation and the royal family over there. Did very well with that. I was able to retire 2 years ago, and now I'm just enjoying coming to the shows, and I do a lot of judging all around the world. So, but thank you, Gene, for everything that you've done for us. The book is at home. I can't wait to get home and start reading it.
Yeah. So I guess some of you have read the book, some of you haven't, but let's maybe visit about what you think when it comes to work ethic. I guess I wrote last night as a youth writer, and then as an adult, Gene had a very close relationship with my family. He'd come to Minnesota, and he'd help at our farm as well. And work ethic, let's just talk about work ethic a little bit. What was installed in you guys, and how you probably mentored young people along the way now with mentoring. I don't know who wants to.
So I think that all of us that were part of Lasma at that time, I mean, work ethic was everything. I mean, you put the time in that you had to put in to achieve what you wanted to achieve. And I think we all just, did not mind putting in the hours. No matter what those hours were, we were there and we enjoyed every minute of it because we were always learning. And,
I just want to stop that.
I didn't create it. Came from my grandfather and my father. You know, we were so fortunate. One of the things that I wish we loved was every kid would experience the horses, particularly in their early life, as I did, and most of you there did. We enjoyed working together. We enjoyed working with the horses. Wanting to get things out. We were just anxious to get there and get done. We got out at midnight, so we did. That's one of the things that I think the horses receive. It's fun to work hard. When you do, you achieve.
For sure, for sure. Does anybody else, have you got something you want to add in there?
Yeah, it wasn't really work. I mean, it was life. That was our life. That's what we did. We got up in the morning, couldn't wait to go to work and ride horses and learn about them. And they taught us how to do that. And after work, it was midnight for 10 o'clock. We'd go to Gene's office and have a scotch, go home. That was our day at last. Or if we had a colicky horse, we went and helped Mrs. LaCroix in surgery. I mean, that was all part of it. And that's why we learned how to work, because it wasn't work. It was just what we did every day. And Ray was always ambitious of staying, working hard. So he taught us just as much as you did.
When you were talking about the learning aspect, people will ask me, when did you go to college? I said, yes, I went to Lasma U, Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm very proud to have you. I never did get the degree yet, G, but if you could send it, I'd appreciate it.
Got anything you want to add?
No, I don't think people realize how hard the LaCroix family really did work, throughout all of the last years and all that stuff. And I think when I went there, as I said, in '74, Bobby was there, but it was a little smaller operation back then and probably a little bit more of a family operation because everybody had their part and everybody did everything. And just, it was a joy just to go to work, because every day, were new things to learn, and, working with Dr. LaCroix very closely for all those years, doing the breeding and helping with the breeding and pulling out mares. The colics at night or whatever, where you were all together, but everything was just for the same cause, and it was all about, being a Lasma employee was just one of the great times.
If you guys were to think of a horse or a show ring experience or anything meaningful, what is the first thing that comes to your mind during your days at Lasma?
I was gonna think of a horse, for me it's FF Summerstorm. She was one of the most amazing individuals. That was probably the first year I was at Lasma, and she went to national service that year. And it was like, wow, I could not believe that I'm here working here and able to see this great horse.
Anybody?
I was, as a lot of people know, my favorite horse all the time was Pro Beach, just that mare was just everything. I loved her dearly. Getting to work around her and all that stuff and being there with her was one of my favorite horses.
I think the special time in my life was when I first went to Lasma. And they were getting Bosk and Elmideer prepared for the auction to set the auction off. And I think Mark Fox came from India back to that sale.
He wore Bosk up.
He did, yeah. And I got to ride Elmideer one day, and that was one of the funnest experiences of my lifetime.
Okay, let's talk about auctions, because wow, that set the standard for the industry. I think, I look back at my family and like the auctions that I remember as a kid, getting those catalogs in the mail, and it was like, oh my God, I just went through them like, oh my gosh, what horse, I just dreamed of having one of those horses. And then you watch the old videos from the auctions. It's still, how many years ago, but it's magical. So I'm sure you guys have times that there's got to be a special moment or something funny from an auction that really, again, stands out for all of you.
Oh boy, the auctions were just amazing. It was just every year, they would outdo themselves or something more special and all that. And just that sales center was just an electric place when it came to the auctions. But they were huge productions put on by the family. And, people had no idea what a huge production that was to put a sale on. But from the previews out front there to the auctions at night, it was just nice. Talk about hard work. There was a lot of work going on, but we certainly had fun with it too. My favorite probably thing of all the auctions over all the years was the Pointer Sisters. The opening with the horses trotting back and forth. Brian over there was on my wife's horse, and Helen was trotting back and forth. And that was a great night. So many great entertainers that came through there. It was just, the auctions were amazing, like nothing else.
They're always trying to repeat them yet today, I think.
Yeah.
One of my funny stories with one of the auctions was we were all warming up and preparing to present our horses on stage at one of the Lasma auctions, and the Beach Boys were performing, and Gene LaCroix made a comment to the person, it might have been Chris LaCroix, that was kind of managing or orchestrating all that, and Gene said, "Man, I hope the Beach Boys play some of their old stuff." And her response was, "Gene, all of their stuff is old."
True.
As Bruce said, the preparation and everything that went into those sales and the accomplishment and the excitement that came out of them was just off the charts. I guess one of my best memories for me was and I can't remember which sale it was. There was, I don't know how many mayors up on that stage. It must have been 25 mayors that were up on that stage, and every one of these mayors were the most beautiful mayors you've ever seen. It was just amazing.
Okay, so I do know we've all played some maybe over the years practical jokes or did stuff, and I can't imagine with all of these people in one area together, you gotta all have one moment that you did something to someone or something off color. Come on, you gotta share one.
You go.
It'll all come out in the book. I've got stories for
So, one of the best ones I ever saw was, back in those days, we all had to have our hunt field boots.
Yeah.
Everybody had to have a pair of field boots. So, most of us would leave them on all day, but not Raymond. He had to take his off when he went to lunch, and they put them on when he came back. Well, while he was gone to lunch, a rattlesnake had been killed out back, and we tied it to his boot. And as he went to pull his boot on, that snake came at him. And he went running out of that barn on fire.
Well, he hit his head on the concrete block, remember? We thought we'd kill Raymond.
So one thing I'd like to ask is if you guys could, you guys set the standard and trainers to follow. If you could give any advice to the younger trainers coming up, what you learned when you were working with Gene and Raymond, what advice would you give them from what you learned?
I guess what I would like to say is that just you have to visualize what is correct and be correct all the time. I see a lot of things, one person will do one thing, one will change this, one will change that. But you always have to go back to just what is correct, how to get to that point. And whether it's staying there, working harder, doing something different, but being correct, I think, is more the word I think I say.
So, thinking back, my big thing would be creating a foundation when you start them. And I can remember early on there when I went there, those things were all started in forward seat saddles, and they let their heads be wherever they wanted to be at that period of time. And it was, you were building a foundation that horse was going to be able to grow with. And it was a slow process, but when that foundation was completed, you really had something. And, I'm sure everybody, all of us, sometimes want it to happen too fast. And
I agree with everything Brian said. I think it's just, the foundation. And, when I first got there, it was all about starting horses in the forward seat saddle. It was a long process. I think it was a proper process.
Well, and back then there was a whole new vernacular that Gene brought to the game. The words like self-carriage and softness and those words weren't even heard until then. Then they became, that's part of our normal vernacular today, and those important phrases that you visualize and you're constantly trying to achieve.
hearing your comments. It's real exciting to hear some of the people who actually read the book. When you write a memoir, and I encourage you all at some point, not necessarily to publish, but when you do it like I did, of course, up in the late 70s, it took me about 20 years to get the book, but particularly concentrating the last 2 or 3 years on putting it all together. It condenses your whole life in just a few hours of reading.
Gene, thank you for your vision and your mentoring and everything you have brought to not only all of us and
Yeah. So for anyone, this will be posted on social media, and you'll be able to get the link and buy the book. So thank you again, Gene. Okay.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
Gene.